Good evening, everyone. It's 6:31. We will call the meeting, the regular meeting of the Guilford Select Board to order. Today is Monday, February the 13th, and welcome everyone here in the room. Nice to see you all. We hope to have more folks joining the meeting soon online. We've had some technical difficulties, and so if you are, well, nobody will be seeing this right now. But the information is on our website now and on the Guilford Facebook page about how to enter the meeting. So we hope to see, we see Richard, we hope to see Rusty fairly soon. But we'll go ahead and move along. There's Rusty, ready to come in, and Erica Elder is here as well. So that's great. All right, folks. The first order of business this evening. I'm not sure we'll be able to do it. Are you all set for your business, Brenda?
Well, let's see, my person is not on yet.
All right, so we'll do that.
Maybe we can just move it down in the agenda.
Okay, remind me.
I will, don't worry.
Changes to the agenda order. I do have one change to the agenda order for this evening, and that's that we need to add into other business a report from the Select Board's ARPA subcommittee. That was intended to go on the agenda. Sheila and I simply forgot it. So if it's all right with the Select Board, we will put it on this evening. Everybody okay? Are you okay, Rusty and Richard, with adding that tonight? Thank you very much. All right. That will come under other business. Now we move on, folks, to the regular meeting updating, and that we need to get minutes approved for, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm all mixed up here. I'm looking at the wrong agenda is the problem. All right, here we go. Pull it together. Rusty, would you read the rules of the procedure, please? Thank you.
Sure. The Select Board has adopted a set of rules and procedures for its operations. They are here on the Town of Guilford site and in on the chat line. These rules ask that everyone present at the meeting conduct themselves in a civil manner. Additionally, on every chair of the Town of Guilford site and in the chat line, there is some basic information which includes how to contact the Select Board members, how to secure a spot during the community comment portion of the meeting, how to get on the agenda, how to communicate with the board via mail or email.
Thank you. Austin, what do you say?
I think that's his connection.
You think that's his connection?
Okay. We have one person with just a telephone.
All right, okay, that's Don McLean. I can tell by the telephone number. I've known Don's telephone number for 40 years. Okay. All right, so thank you, Rusty. Your connection's a little faulty. We had a little trouble hearing you, so I'll just say here for folks in the room and those online now that the primary issue with the rules of procedure is that we seek to address one another with friendliness and civility. So, and then there's information on our website about how to get onto Select Board meetings if that's of interest to you. All right, let's go then. Jumping around a little here at the beginning, a little unsettled here at the beginning, but now we're ready to approve some minutes. We have the minutes of the regular meeting of January 23rd. That doesn't make any sense.
We met on the 23rd and the 25th.
23rd and then the 20, oh, I see, look at that.
Special.
123rd, okay, 123rd. All right, January 23rd, we had a regular meeting. Thank you. Is there,
I so move.
thank you, Richard. Is there a second?
Yes.
Thank you, Brenda. Is there any discussion about the minutes?
No, just that it should say on the agenda 12323, not
Yes.
12325.
Yes.
Oh, well,
Okay.
Just
moving forward.
All right.
A year or three.
I'll take the roll then. Richard?
Aye.
Rusty? Thank you. Michael?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Zon says aye. Thank you. Then the board met, again, the Select Board met 2 days later in a special meeting. We have those minutes to approve. That would be the minutes of January 25th, 23.
I motion that they be approved as well.
Thank you, Richard. Is there a second?
Aye.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any discussion about those here at the select board? All right, I'll take the roll. Richard?
Aye.
Thank you. Rusty?
Aye.
Thanks. Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
And Zan says aye. Okay, those have been approved.
So, I guess it was last select board meeting on the next month.
Marty? Thank you. You want to mute yourself, please? All right.
I just did.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we'll move, folks, to our updates and a report this evening. So we talked to Dan Zambrowski about the highway.
Can you sheet Adams?
Good evening.
How are you?
Good.
We're a little frazzled here this evening.
I know, we've been kind of busy lately with all these ice storms and so, I mean, they've been keeping us out pretty straight. I got a couple things I'd like to run by. You got people, well, the one thing is roads have got some potholes in them. There's a lot of ice. It's still, we touched up Heinsberg Road today and sometimes you help it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But we hauled a little material over there and we got it fixed up, so it's a lot better than what it was. There's just potholes all over every road in town, so we're just starting to get out because you have to wait until noon before the roads thaw out before you can do anything. So, but that's one thing. Another thing is we've gone our capital budget. We have three pieces of equipment need to be replaced. Their earmarks are up. I've done some pricing on them. I got my specs out. One is a chipper, which our current chipper right now is a 92. And we've sort of been putting it off. Now it's time to get rid of it. I mean, get a new, updated new one. The other one is our tractor and mower. I've done specs on that. Right now I have one price on a chipper and I got 4 prices on tractors. And I wait for one more for another price to come in on a chipper. And what I did is we joined the, it's called Sourcewell.
Yes.
It's a government buying agency that all our vendors, like the CAD or John Deere, we go to them, give them the specs, then they go to this organization, give them the specs, and they give us the good pricing. We get their pricing through a bigger discount is what it is. So I give you for an existing, the tractor and mower, our discount on that was right around $27,000. And you're looking at
Through Sourcewell.
Through Sourcewell. And they go give us the best price they can. And the fire department can do it. You can buy office equipment off it. So, right, we joined. We have an ID number and all the vendors are, they got the specs and everything. So, I'm just waiting. I'd like to set a date to at least do the chipper and tractor soon. And then the next bigger one is the grader. I do have 2 prices on graders. There's only Cat and John Deere. So that one I'd like to get after we get these other 2. And you're looking anywhere from 6 months to a year on a grader. So
Before we get a new one.
Yeah.
Okay.
so it would be in a different budget year on that. That's probably going to be the bigger ticket item because you're looking at right around 300,000. The tree. But that's, and we have a wing on our grader now. I want to keep our plow that we have, get a new plow frame, have the new grader plumbed for a wing. But we haven't had the wing on that grader in, I think, only once since we've had it. And I'm going to spec the wing as an option because you're looking at probably a $20,000 to $30,000 option with a wing. We'll keep our plow and save us some money there. So, but I would like to try to get a date if Michael can set and we can try to get a date set for the tractor and chipper. There is one dealer that has one on lot ready to go. The other ones would have to be like a 90-day. Whichever vendor we go with would be like a 90-day wait because they'll be built right at the factory out in the Dakotas, and they'll direct ship it right here. But you're looking at probably 180 or 190,000 for a new tractor.
Yeah,
Can I
okay.
ask, what do you mean
I'm
by
sorry,
a chipper?
sorry, Dolores. Yeah, sorry. You can direct those to me, I'm sorry. We just have to do it that way.
Yep.
Yeah. And we'll, so just a minute, we'll get right to you.
So anyways, I'd just like to get a date set up for them, for at least the tractor and chipper for now, and then after town meeting time, do the greater date on that one.
Okay. All right. So I have just a question about this Sourcewell. Is this, when you go out and put the, inquiry out about that, is this a national service?
Yes, it is.
So
And
that
it's-
something
it's-
might come from Idaho or something like that?
Actually, they're out of Minnesota.
I see.
And it's what it is, if you don't have to go out to bid, the company is doing the bidding for you, and then you can pick low ball, you can pick whatever machine you want, whatever, but they're doing all the hardware. They have the specs, they're getting us the best price in there.
So volume purchasing
Right.
is a great way to go. Okay, I think the question is, what is a chipper? Do you want to explain
The
that?
chipper?
Yeah.
A chipper is the thing that grinds up sticks. And if you got leaves on them, it grinds up leaves, but it's a chipper you see like on the back of your tree company truck.
Right, so that's not the mower that you go when you're
No,
cold.
no, mower is separate. It's a different,
Do you use a chipper that much that,
yeah. It's old, I mean, it's outdated itself.
I've had the same chipper since '92, so
Since
it's
92.
30 years
well,
old.
it's not the age, it's the mileage.
No, it's got probably, I'm gonna say probably about 1,200 hours on it.
Uh-huh.
It's got some hours on it, and it's seen a lot of chipping,
Mhm.
so.
Okay, so Sheila, did you have something you wanted to say here?
Yes, hang on, sorry. It is a cooperative purchasing program, and as Dan said, it means we wouldn't have to go out to bid, but we should evaluate the prices that he gets from the different
Yes, I already have.
suppliers. And we talked about maybe Michael and me and Dan sitting down and preparing a spreadsheet for comparison purposes to present to the select board at the next meeting. And I think that the action tonight might be to agree to go with Sourcewell for purchasing, not to make purchases, but to agree to use them instead of going out to bid
On our
on
own.
our own. Because that's different from our procurement policy currently.
And what is you told me privately, but what's the price for Sourcewell?
There is no price.
There is no price.
There's no fee. They get their fees probably from the members that,
I see,
the
okay, that's.
suppliers. There's no fee to the town.
Okay,
And that's the way it is. It's all these companies that join it, they have to pay a fee. It's like, you're like Cat, John Deere, they pay their membership fee, and that's where they get their money for doing that.
okay, so you'd like a motion that the select board would approve of using Sourcewell as a resource for these purchases?
Yes.
Do we have to mention the procurement policy in this or not?
This isn't, going through Sourcewell to purchase highway equipment or fire department equipment or computers or anything like that is different from our procurement policy, which requires an RFP. So we have to acknowledge that we're following a different process to procure goods
In the motion?
in a motion.
Right.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That was my only question.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm just, yeah.
All right, okay. So we'll get to that in a second here. Okay, is there any, so let's get this motion down, Sheila. What should it say?
Move to approve working with Sourcewell, a cooperative purchasing service towards securing highway equipment.
Okay, should we just, is highway equipment too narrowing? Because we might want to do some other things later with Sourcewell?
So why don't we say the equipment for the town or something like that?
There we go. That's what I would say too, equipment for the town.
And there is a website you can go on, and it explains, it gives you the whole step, right? It explains the whole
All right,
step to it.
all right.
To approve with working with.
Okay, so I'll move that. Is there a second?
Sure.
Thanks, Miranda. Second, we'll get to the community in a second. I want to just check with the select board, see if there are any questions here. Do we all understand what we're doing? Is it clear enough? Everybody okay?
We should mention, Zom, that there are many towns in Vermont who use Sourcewell, and that it's a notable bidding source and purchasing source for many towns in Vermont.
Okay, thanks.
Michael had something.
I mean, is it reasonable to include that we would want to see 3 different options from?
Yes.
I got plenty of options, I mean, the graders, you're limited, there's only two companies, so.
This is not about the evaluation, this is just about,
Using
accessing
it, not to-
Sourcewell
yeah,
services.
I think that we would probably set up a system for making sure that it goes with our current procurement policy.
I'm sorry, the other thing is that Dan found this company, this purchasing cooperative has been in existence since the late 70s or 80s.
Wow.
So it's well established. And I told Jared Bristol about it, and he was very enthusiastic about that as well.
Great, good.
Do we need to amend our purchasing and procurement policy in order to?
Maybe.
We might need
This
to
is
do that
right now, this
later.
is a one-time exception, so.
I mean, I think not right now, but I think we need to evaluate that. We'll definitely look at that, yeah. Okay. Let's see, before we vote, I think there were some comments in the committee. Yes, identify yourself and what road. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for acknowledging me. Lyle Howe from Green River. And just out of curiosity, the grader that, what we all refer to as the new grader, it seemed you had to have a lot of special training on it, and how long ago was that?
We're on a 10-year cycle on everything. Our capital plan is 10 years.
It's been 10 years since you've had that?
Yes, and our small 1-tons, we keep them anywhere from 6 to 7. Get rid of them while you can get some money for them. Our big trucks, we keep them 10. You get rid of them while you get money for them. In the same way with the loader backhoe grader. We're ballpark figure, one of the vendors I got, we're probably looking at over 150 towards trade on the machine that we have now. So it's still gonna cost us money to do it, but I mean, you keep up with them before stuff starts
Before
happening.
they break down.
Right, yeah. And even new stuff can break down, it's no guarantee.
Connie, identify yourself.
Yes, I'm Connie Burton, excuse me, Weatherhead Hollow Road. I assume that these are all brand new, nothing is used.
No, all brand new.
And what is the process of having money set aside?
We have that in our capital equipment. We have money in there.
So is that the same thing as the capital improvement fund that we see
Well,
listed
there's
in the town?
Capital improvement.
There's money to cover everything.
So it's paid outright, no?
There's no lease, we trade. They give us the bill and somebody makes the check out.
Thank you.
As you have like the procurement thing where you get 3 bids, how is it when you're selling your, the used stuff? Shouldn't that be like the same, shouldn't that be put up?
Right now, I got a couple prices for trade. So if you're trading it through the dealer, you don't have to go through that part of the policy.
Right, but I know like
It's a
some of
trade.
those old trucks went out to private people.
Yeah, some of them we just, my way I do it is whoever comes up with the cash can have it.
How do you come up with a price?
I just go to the deal, because when you go to the dealer and they're gonna say, all right, we're only gonna give you 10 grand. And I go on a book, there's a book I go on and say, well, this year they're getting $15,000, $20,000 more, so you ask that much more to try to get rid of it and make a little bit more money back on it. So it's like Auto Trader, you look them up in here and you see the prices and
Yeah, like a
everything.
blue book.
Yeah.
Steve Lemke, Green River, do you want to add in the motion that the use of Sourcewell means suspending the normal procurement process?
For this one time, maybe we should do that this one time. Thank you. Are we comfortable, board, with amending the motion so that we speak about it for just this one time?
So you moved to do it on town purchases as opposed to this one time. So if we do it on town purchases from time to time, it's not something that I would use every single time. You know, I'm not gonna use it for toilet paper for the office. But, you know, for big ticket items, we might consider it, but I would say you want to do this on a case-by-case basis, because we do have the policy, they're going out to bid to different, hopefully local suppliers, which Danny has found.
So
Maybe the motion should say on a case-by-case basis.
You want to,
Huh?
it's fine, you have to amend the motion, that's all.
Yeah, okay, so let's, comfortable with that?
I move to amend the motion to say on a case-by-case basis.
All right, so we need a second for that.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rusty.
And
Any
maybe
discussion
we
about that
could
amendment?
hear the motion in its newest form when Sheila has a chance to catch up with it.
So you have to act on the second motion first, you have to move to amend the motion to consider use of Sourcewell on a case-by-case basis.
That's what we're doing
So
right
that's
now. We're
moved,
considering,
you need a second.
we got a second from Rusty.
Oh, sorry, Rusty seconded.
And then we need to.
You need to vote on that and then.
Yeah, but Miranda wants to know what it's gonna feel like when we get there all the way.
So the original motion will now read, Zahn moved to approve working with Sourcewell, a cooperative purchasing service, on a case-by-case basis.
Okay?
All right. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll take the roll for that. Richard?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Zahn says aye. So that's for the amendment. Now, we've amended it, and now we're going to vote whether or not we can adopt the motion fully as Sheila just read it. Are we okay?
I would move that.
Okay, we're all set on the motion, I think.
Oh,
The
okay.
motion's there.
Well, now we just have
We just have to
a
vote.
second.
Yeah, we have a second.
Okay.
All right, Richard?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
And Zahn says aye. Okay, thank you. Well, that was,
It seems
Thank you
like
for-
a very promising
opportunity.
new opportunity
Yeah,
for
so
us.
we'll get
It
more
was something new, I mean, I just happened to stumble on, one of the dealers told me about it, so I looked it up and just happened to stumble onto it, and I called him and
Okay.
talked with him, and
All right, so that's good. So we will, a next step for us will, no actions necessary, but we will make sure that it reads well with alignment with our procurement policy, and bring that a little bit tighter in. Okay, so
Susan, the community comments.
we'll do that in a minute after we'll do this next. So the next order of business is updates. On the updates and reports section, it's a talk about Zoom versus in-person meetings. And this, if I'm correct, Sheila, relates to the pre-town meeting and town meeting. That's correct? So I'm going to ask Sheila to speak about this, just so we're clear. Are you comfortable doing that?
Yeah. So many meetings are hybrid. Tonight is a hybrid meeting. People can participate online or in person. For pre-town meeting and for town meeting, the town had a choice of making the pre-town meeting hybrid, but not the town meeting. The town meeting can be by Zoom, by Australian ballot, or in person, and maybe by Zoom, I don't know about that, but it can't be both. It can't be a hybrid meeting. So you have either a hybrid meeting or an in-person meeting. The select board has decided to have a pre-town meeting
In person.
in person, and it's doing the town the courtesy of paying BCTV extra to film, live stream the pre-town meeting. Town meeting will be filmed also, but it is also in person. So neither pre-town meeting nor town meeting are hybrid meetings, and we checked and double checked with VLCT to make sure we were following the law and the intent of everything. So that's it, it's complete.
I have a question, Zahn. Can you refresh my memory about when the select board voted to have only an in-person pre-town meeting?
I think I don't remember when
I don't know if we voted or it was a decision.
no, I think we made a decision. I'd have to look it up, Richard. I don't remember the date. on
Okay,
which-
I just for documentation purposes, I don't recall a decision made about that. So I would like to have that verified.
Okay.
It might be something that we discussed.
Oh, I know what
You and I-
the answer is, actually, now that I'm thinking about
Oh,
it.
good.
I think the answer is that Governor Scott had not, the COVID laws about town meeting and pre-town meeting went down. They were sunsetted at a certain point, and we acted on the fact that the meetings were now required to be in person. Our meetings were required to go back to be in person, so that we moved ahead on that. We didn't need to make a decision, we just needed to comply with the way that it was going. Then Governor Scott, about 2 weeks ago, reinstated the option for being able to have Australian ballot, meetings by Australian ballot or in person. So we didn't need to change anything we were doing because we were following the earlier compliance. It's in person, and that's also allowable by Governor Scott's latest decision. Does that answer your?
Yeah, I still would like to see a date on when the select board discussed that, because,
You're right, we didn't have a discussion, in the process of creating the warrant and the schedule and setting up with BCTV, we just followed pre-COVID procedure. We, meaning me and Zon.
Yeah, there was no decision to be made by the select board.
The select board did vote on using BCTV to live stream. A few meetings ago, we talked about the 2 contracts with BCTV. So there was a discussion then about how the meeting would be held. But I don't think there was a vote on whether it was going to be Zoom or hybrid or in person.
okay, well, could you put in the minutes for me about what we just said? And that, then we'll have it documented. I just want it to be for the public to know that how that this works.
So the course of events was that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah, we'll put that in, that's good, I think that's a good point, Richard. I know that the discussion I heard was that Governor Scott hadn't made certain plans and communities were already beginning to make their plans, and Governor Scott then came in and it sort of flummoxed some towns because they weren't sure what to do, but we were just moving ahead. That's our, I see, Tammy, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I may be repeating something someone has already brought to your attention, but the Zoom link that was shared for tonight's meeting, you are aware of it. Okay,
Yes.
I just want to
Thank
make sure
you. Sorry.
we on here.
Yeah, we did, the last minute we discovered it, we put it up on the town website and on the Guilford Facebook page, the correct information. So hopefully people are looking around for it.
Okay, yeah, it took me a while to get on here, so I just
Sorry.
didn't know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Back to the town website must be updated.
That's yeah, we go. It's done. Okay. All right, folks, now we can move on to old business. Oh, sorry, thank you.
I'm sorry. No, we're just doing the best we can.
Yeah, a little crazy
So,
tonight.
so I have a very brief comment. I've been asked to report that there's an Al-Anon meeting, a new one, that started at the Guilford Community Church every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. I think people know that Al-Anon is for people who have been affected by somebody else's alcoholism or other substance issue. So that's Wednesday, 7 p.m. at the Guilford Church. And Sheila Adams has another announcement to make.
Thanks, Rhonda, and thank you, everybody. Sorry I was late getting in here, so I messed up your agenda. But So I'm here representing the Vermont Worker Center with an announcement. I'll just give a brief history of the Worker Center. If you're not familiar, it was started in 1998 in central Vermont by low-income workers who just kind of got together to learn how they could support each other, fight for livable wages, support people who are trying to organize their workplaces, things like that. It's a member organization, democratically run. We are nonpartisan. We do not endorse political parties. But that doesn't mean we're not political. I'm sorry?
I don't know where on the town website it was.
Tell John that he needs to mute his phone.
And also, it's on the home page of the town website. On the right-hand side, you'll find the links. Anywho, that's where I found them. So to get back, so we are political. In 2008, we began the Healthcare as a Human Rights campaign. In 2011, through our organizing efforts across the state, Act 48 was passed, which provided for the first in the nation single-payer healthcare system. And unfortunately, in 2014, having run on the campaign, Peter Sumlin bailed. But that Act 48 remains on the books and remains unfunded. So that will bring us to today and why I'm here. And I'm going to read a little bit just so I get this. This is our announcement. In December 2022, Congress voted to eliminate the extra federal funding and requirement that states keep people on Medicaid. Vermont will be starting Medicaid redeterminations on April 1st. According to the Urban Institute projections, up to 29,000 Vermont Medicaid recipients could be affected. So the Worker Center locally is hosting informational sessions in the meeting room at the Brooks Library in Brattleboro. We'll be there next on February 22nd. That's a Wednesday, and we'll be there from 2 to 4. All are welcome to stop by to find out whether they will be affected, what their rights are in this process. There is an appeals process. And how to be sure that they aren't cut off from for bureaucratic reasons. In other words, you want to be sure if you get any mail from the state, from the Medicaid office, particularly if it has a red stripe on it, you want to be sure to open it and respond to it, read it, see what's in there. You want to be sure that your address and your phone number are correct with the state. We can help you with that. Let me catch where I am. Also, if people who are not on Medicaid but have other questions about healthcare, we'll be there. We have resources available. So we're going to continue through the spring with several other dates at the library. The next one being for sure March 22nd and a couple in April on the 5th and the 19th. You can reach us at theworkercenter.com. I'll put all that information in the website. No, it's theworkercenter.org. Workercenter.org. And also the Vermont Healthcare Advocate Helpline. There's an 800 number for that. You can find, if you have any problems, they are the person you want to talk to. The Worker Center has a relationship with them and met with them last week to answer some questions we had, but they want to be the go-to people if people run into problems with their healthcare coverage over the next few months. So those redeterminations are scheduled to start April 1st and will continue through the end of the year into the next year. We expect they'll go after the low-hanging fruit peoples whose income has changed since the public health emergency that we all went through. So thank you for your time. I won't take up any more. If anybody has any questions, you can contact the Worker Center. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Sheila.
All right, thank you, Rhonda. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to old business now. Thank you, Sheila. The old business is that the first is that we will be looking this evening at the an engagement letter with our auditors, Mudgett, Jennett, and Krogh-Wisner for fiscal year 23. Sheila.
So this letter is is confirming the third year of a contract that we have with our professional audit firm that's been working with the town for 15 years, I don't know, conducting a professional audit on an annual basis. We have a 3-year contract, and this is just to confirm that we're gonna keep up with the third year. And I would say that, just 2 things. This year, their charges were much less than their contract fee, and they have been invaluable to me. They're always available to help. Sometimes they come here to help me understand how things are working, should work, might have not worked before, et cetera. So they've been absolutely incredible, and they know our books inside and out, and they always answer. So.
Okay, so.
John, I have a comment.
Yes, I'd like to make
I would just like to add that that our auditing firm is itself audited, and we just got a letter from the auditors talking about how they are extraordinarily professional and law-abiding in their accounting procedures. I was very pleased to see that letter. Not that I ever suspected anything, but people should know that our auditors are audited.
Yes, and I think it's worth pointing out too that in light of some discussions that we've had recently here in the community, that I think it's important that we all understand that these auditors that are hired by the select board are auditing Guilford's finances, and their concern is Guilford. They're not working to answer our needs, the select board's needs, or anything like that. They're looking at the numbers on behalf of the town of Guilford. So they are an independent firm, and they as Richard says, they are audited themselves. So their professionalism is a very high standard. So we can depend on their work as well as we can depend on anyone's to make sure it's done. So. Do we need a motion for this, Sheila?
Yes, we
Okay.
need to approve the third year of the contract with the town's professional auditors.
Okay.
So moved.
All right, Michael, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Veranda, I'm gonna take Veranda on that one, thank you.
Okay.
So, good. Is there any discussion here at the board? All right, is there any comment in the community? I see Tammy's hand.
Yeah, quick question. So when the auditors do the audit, do they audit all of the funds, all the different funds that we have listed in the town report?
They audit every single financial issue in the town of Guilford.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Okay, we'll take the roll then. Richard?
Aye.
Rusty?
I think we have a question in the back.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
It's too late for a question, Zon.
Okay, we'll come back to it in a second. All right, Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Zon says aye. And then I'll take a question here with Christina.
Hi, Christine.
Would you?
State
Yeah.
Onward.
Yeah.
I wanted to know who gives how many different people, or what, is it just the Finance Advisory Committee or the auditors? Who gives the information to Mudgett and all? How's that information handled?
We'll let Sheila
Yeah.
answer that.
Starting in April, they come and sit in the office for several days in a row. They inspect the general ledger, all the reports, the general ledger, the accounting, the journal entries. It's a massive undertaking. They look at every single dollar transaction that the town has had in the last year. They balance the funds. So if you look in this year's town report, you'll have like last year's funds and then this year's funds, and sometimes the transactions of the funds, like dividends or whatever. And those figures in the town report are drawn from the auditor's report that gets approved. And they do work all the way through August or September. And they're often here, but they also have access to records from years previous, and they take a lot of records with them, and that's why I said they've been incredibly helpful to me. This year in particular, just trying to figure out history, process, what next. So
I think it might be also fair to say that it's not, their work is not treated like a records request. In other words, they don't ask us for records that we supply. They simply come in and have access to every single transaction that's there. They go right into the systems the same way we would and look at every single thing.
Zon, I have a comment.
Yes.
We just need to make sure that people know that the audit is available in hard copy, years going back, including the most recent one, and on the town website. The official audit, the signed letter of authorization audit is there.
Yes, that's true too. I see, sorry, we'll go, all right.
Steve Lemke, Green River. It might also be worth noting that if the auditors find anything unusual or even a policy that they think could be cleaned up, they issue a management letter that goes in with the audit. So it's not just an individual conversation saying this, but it's public record.
Yes, and there's a whole process for that we have to accept their report, we have to accept their recommendations, and then we agree to certain compliances then after that, yes. Okay, Connie?
Connie Burton, Weatherhead Hollow Road. Do our elected auditors have anything to do with this audit?
No, it's not the way that the town is set up. I was surprised. I became an auditor in Guilford thinking that I would be looking at helping the community look at dollars. But no, the function of the auditors in our community is strictly to produce the town report once a year, so that their job is to take the audited figures and process them into a report for the community.
So they should be called something else.
Yeah, it's a little strange, isn't it? Yeah, it's a little misleading. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and just so you know, I discovered as an auditor, as I was for Guilford for a few months, you can't also be a select board member, so I had to let go of the auditor role. But that's part of the balances to make sure checks and balances. Lyle?
Yeah, Lyle Howe from Green River again. Was it the outside auditors that caught the $195,000 that was missing for a while?
I think so.
For the Algiers. It was misplaced.
The auditors, Guilford began using auditors when that issue, not when the $195,000, but there were improprieties about 15 years ago that caused Guilford to begin using a professional auditing service. They're not related to this $195,000.
That's right. The $195,000 has always been available to the town. It just wasn't identified properly. So it was available before, I think before Penny started, before anybody on the, in the town office, before Peter started. And so it took several, I'm trying to think, it took from about November of, what year is this, 21, until this fall for us to identify what it had been intended for back in 2010 or 2011, how we had paid for it. Again, it was in the budget, but it just wasn't named properly, so people didn't understand where the debt was going. And we didn't actually have the full $195,000. Well, we had access to it, but we paid over 10 years interest and principal. And so we now have access to the whole fund, the whole 175, because the last payment, this may be more information than everybody wants to know. We used principal to pay the last interest payment, and so we didn't use tax dollars to pay for that. So there's approximately $175,000 left in this bond fund that sits with the Vermont Bond Bank that can be used if for a purpose that town residents choose. We just can't pull it in for tax revenues or something like that. Town members, residents need to vote on how to use these funds, and then the bank, if the bank approves, they'll release them.
All right.
I have just one question.
Good job. Just say your name.
Dolores Clark. So that whole thing with 195, and then it was an extra almost 20,000 in interest that was still paid for, you know, that to pay it off. So I guess my question was, when it was put towards the library, it was going to be like the whole 195,000.
At that point, it wasn't. It was valid.
But all along, we still needed to be paying off that extra almost 20,000.
Yeah, 24,000.
24,000, okay, that's even worse.
Not an extra, the final payment.
The final payment.
Yeah.
So, I guess my question is, I don't know how to actually do it, is like, so the town was gonna spend or apply 195,000, but really it would have been 195 plus we still owed 24,000 on it. So who checks that out? Like, why did we think we had $195,000 to spend? So was that the treasurer? Is that an auditor?
You had a bank bond, a loan of $195,000. Whether or not you've paid the principal and the interest on it, you still had that amount available. It was available for the water line in 2012.
I know that, but we still owed 24,000 on it.
Every year.
Every single year, it was paid. Every single year. Until this last year, the $24,000 was paid for. And so this last time that the 24,000 was due.
That was like the last payment on it, right?
It was the last payment. So when it was applied to the library, we didn't understand that the final payment was coming forward. It was 195, and as far as it had been going for years, the $24,000 was there to pay for the. And you'll see on the budget this year, I just looked in the town report, it shows that there's zero there this year for that same amount.
Okay, so my question is, who is it that was supposed to have, would it have been the treasurer, would it have been an auditor that realized that it was still owed $24,000?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Dolores, and I think it's a very real question. It's exactly the question we had, and I think the answer is probably it's information that got lost in this office over time through the course of so many different people changing roles, and we did not have a town treasurer who was a consistent town treasurer looking at everything in as careful a way as we hope to have soon. And so I think it's one of those issues where it's one of those crazy things that happened here. And who knows when it got lost. Even the bank was surprised. Couldn't help us understand it when we took it back to them.
But over all of that course of time with different people in those positions, who was supposed to have seen that? Somebody should have seen it.
So there's a water line fund. There's been a water line fund balance in the audit report every year. So who knows what the water line fund is? And then there was the water line fund and raising taxes to pay the interest. And it did not come to the town's attention until I think November or December of 21 that these funds were in fact available to the town. That they just were sitting in the bank. And the reason is that the Vermont Bond Bank never let anybody know that they'd never been used. So back in 2012, when this money was raised, and then it wasn't used for a project, somebody lost track of what those funds were supposed to have been used for. However, we still had a financial obligation to pay the loan, and the town did, and now the town has access to those funds.
I understand all that. I guess my question is like, how do you lose track of $195,000?
That's a good question.
You might want to ask Richard Clark or Al Franklin or somebody who was on the select board at the time. It's hard to say how.
There's been select boards and money people
And
whenever that was till November of 21.
And so maybe a way to say it perhaps is that beginning in November 21, we investigate it, we understand it now, we see the situation, and we see some of the issues that are coming, and we're attempting to rectify it and make sure that this kind of thing never happens again in Guilford.
Okay, so my question was, who looks at that now? Is it
It's-
a treasurer or is it these?
We don't
auditors?
have a place right now where it's sitting. We hope in the next after town meeting that we'll be able to hand this to the town treasurer, and this is the kind of oversight that we can begin to expect in town.
On all funds, not just, that's just a very glaring
Yes.
thing. But I mean,
Agreed.
there's all things, is that the auditor or is that the new treasurer that's supposed to be looking at
Probably a
that?
combination, I would guess, but certainly the treasurer will be expected, should be able to be expected to have a grasp of a lot of these numbers, just as Sheila has gotten a hold of all of this now in the last while. Yeah.
I am not the professional auditor, but I have used them to help me solve this problem. And I was a member of the Finance Advisory Committee, I still am actually, back in the time when this first came to light, and it took from October or November of that year until, I think it was, when did I say hallelujah? August, September?
Yeah.
I mean, almost a year plus, to figure out what the history was, what the context was, what the town's obligation had been. And so in looking at that, I can assure you that I've looked at every other fund that there is as well, so that we can understand it. And that is, as far as I know, the only one that nobody really knew what happened.
Yeah, so I'll say that it's our intent, it's the select board's intention, firm intention to get a grip on all of this and begin to move us into a better situation. So let's see, I see hands up. I see Jason Heron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, select board members. I had some other questions, but the 195,000, I think the question that needs to be answered.
You're breaking
is
up.
if auditors aren't able to find it. Okay, if the auditors aren't able to find this funds, who is then going to find them? And we've had auditors, the same auditing company for years. That $195,000 was sitting in the bond bank. Either our treasurer didn't know about it, or the bond bank didn't tell us. There wasn't a good transition between select board members. But the fact is no one knew that $195,000 existed until the bond bank called. That, I think, is the problem. And the select board just hiring the same auditing firm to do the same type of audit, which that could easily be missed again, seems like a problem. The other thing that you made, we have not voted to eliminate our town auditors. And until we do that, they are required by statute to do the job of a town auditor. Now, that's in the VLCT handbook. If they want to be editors of the town report, well, they can do that, but that's not the role of an auditor. If we want to eliminate our town elected auditors, we have to do that by a vote. And that has not been done. So our auditors have full authority that has been given to them by their elected people, the people who elected them based on the statutory laws. Now, if the Guilford Select Board, or this has been practiced for years, is irrelevant. The fact is that we've never voted to eliminate our town auditor. I guess that's it. I think there's a problem that we need to have a real audit, and we need to go in. And the other thing is, what about the capital improvement fund? We just found out that this fund was created over 5 years ago. I think 6 years ago, and this fund has never, the plan has never been completed. That they don't actually exist. And this was the Finance Advisory Committee chairperson that said that these reports don't exist. So we've had the same auditor. We don't have any idea what's in our capital improvement fund, where these money's been coming in and out of. We lost $195,000 somehow. I think there's a problem here, and I think that clearly there's over 100 residents in Guilford who think they're a problem, and that's where that petition stopped. They could have gathered more petition signs.
Thank you, Jason. Tammy, please.
5%.
So
I think you're just simply saying that.
Thank you, Jason. You're breaking up. Tammy's hand went down. And Ryan.
Yeah, I put it down because you called on me. Do you want me to talk now?
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay, yes. Okay, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So actually, Jason sort of almost answered my question. One of my questions was, did we vote as a town to have our town auditors not do any auditing? I didn't think we had done that. So that was one question.
Okay.
my next question is, we have been budgeting for years on that $195,000 bond that Dolores was just talking about.
Yeah.
So my question is, we had budgeted for the payment for that bond, that $24,500 for fiscal year 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, why did we take money out of the bond to pay for that when we had budgeted in that money? And where is that money now? The money that we budgeted in and it didn't get used on, and now the bond is less money than it would have been.
Okay, I will, Tammy, if you don't mind, both your questions, I'm gonna have to go back and research those. I don't know the answer from whether or not we've ever, in the past history, have ever voted to eliminate our auditors or what the purpose is. So I'll have to find out about that more, but I'll be happy to get back to you.
Fine, but
Yeah.
but fairly recently, you guys decided to take money from the bond to make the last bond payment.
Right.
Because you said that it hadn't been budgeted for, but it had been budgeted for.
I don't think we said it had, well, we knew it was budgeted. We knew that it was, we knew that it was budgeted.
Okay, so then why did we make the last payment with money from the bond? Why didn't we make the last payment from the money we budgeted for that?
I don't know the answer to that right now, Tammy. I'll have to go back and find it. I'm sorry. That's the kind of question, this kind of question is, I know that there's an interest in trying to make the select board look as if we don't know what we're talking about. But this kind of question is precisely the kind of question that you could send to me and I could research and get you a very good answer. Right now, I'm caught with my pants down. And I don't know if that makes people satisfied to see me with my pants down, but they're down, and I'm willing to admit that. What I'd like to do is to have an opportunity to go and answer this question and get a good answer for you that will be the right answer, I believe, because there was decision-making in the process. And so I need to go back and figure out what that is and answer you. And then rather than have you or anyone in the community feel that we're trying to somehow do the wrong thing. We're not trying to do the wrong thing. We are so trying to do the right thing and get Guilford onto a better standing from a financial point of view. So please, all of these questions that some of you have about what dollars went, aim those at me in emails and I'll be glad to take them. We're not going to spend any more time here talking about those kind of questions. I'll call on Ann Ryder.
Thanks, Son. In defense of the old select board that was in place during the water line budget, we were required by the USDA to take out that bond. And the reason they required us to take out the bond for that additional money was we said to them, we don't need that money in order to build the water line. And they said, we require towns to do this in case you run out of money and you just stop cold in the middle of this project. So this is like an insurance policy for us being the USDA, that you actually have the funds to finish this project. So we could say to them till we were blue in the face, which we did, we're going to come in on or under budget, which we did. However, they required us to take out that bond. And that would also be my defense of the Dick Clark, Ann Ryder, and various other people who served on that, Dennis was off by that point, but that board, how we lost track of the money, we hadn't, planned to use that money. It was a fail-safe in case we ran out of money while completing the water line project, which we did not. Katie Buckley was the town administrator at that point. She could sit here right now and explain to you the mechanisms of that, but she left her position. And so you're right. I think we need to be more careful about something like that kind of dangling in outer space. But just in defense of how it was, quote, lost track of, we didn't spend it erroneously. We didn't incur it erroneously, but we did, in a sense, it was kind of forgotten about because we were required to take that bond out, which the town voted on, but we didn't have a use for it. We were pretty sure we could come in under budget. So for what it's worth, that's that history.
Thank you. And I see Jason Heron's hand. I'll call on you one more time, Jason.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to clarify, we have not voted to dismantle our elected auditors. If we had done that, we wouldn't be electing them now. We would have decided on a new name. We would have called them the town planning auditors, anyway, that.
Okay, thank you.
We haven't done this. We have not removed the elected auditor position. If we had, we wouldn't be electing them now. They would have a different role.
Thank you. I can imagine it's possible that somewhere along the line we changed the definition of what that meant without taking away the words. Okay.
Are you making a excuse me, Mr. Chairman, are you making a statement with that you assume somewhere down the line that happened?
No, I just said I'm imagining that might have been what happened. I don't know.
John, may I suggest that we move?
If that was the case, we would not be electing them now. The town would have said we don't need to elect auditors because we don't have elected auditors anymore. That would be the end of the story. But because we elect them is proof that we have never denied that position.
John, may I suggest we advance our agenda, please?
Yes, I'll take one more comment from Christina, then we will.
Hi, Christina Bella, Worsby Palmer. I just wanted to address the chair's comment. I don't attend or listen to the meetings as much as I should, so I miss the history of things, and I think I'm maybe not alone on that. There's obviously not the greatest participation in town governance. But as somebody who is trying to learn as much as she can, I appreciate questions like Tammy. I don't feel like, I don't know what the history is, but I don't feel like it's an accusation or some agenda, because if you were to answer her an email, how would I ever know what the answer is? So I appreciate the forum, and I appreciate that all of you are
Thank you. I hear that.
not an encyclopedia of knowledge and trying to do everything perfectly. I don't think that's the expectation. I think there are plenty of people in town that offer grace, that understand that human errors are made. It's how we all deal with them as a town, how we react to them, and how we fix them.
Okay. Thank you.
So I just appreciate the dialogue.
Thank you. I would just say that I do too. I think it's important, though, that perhaps first, as you are a fine example of that, I get quite a number of emails from you personally, and the subjects don't appear here. I can see that you're hoping to learn, you're asking for information. We provide you, I get emails from you along those lines. I'm just encouraging people to use me as a resource first, before the issues need to come up at a select board meeting. We would take every opportunity we can to educate the community as broadly as we can about issues. So I think that I just want to be careful that I want to state very clearly that there is a sense, and I appreciate what you have to say, Christina, but there is a sense that there are people in our community who are trying to co-opt the meetings themselves and trying to keep us from doing the work of the select board at a certain level. And that's my job, is to try to keep that from happening. So I'm encouraging people to speak with me first in nearly every single instance, and not try to have a conversation about things that could be answered very easily from me or from Sheila. That might not even need to come before the select board, because we have business to do here. We're not doing our business right now. Our business is not answering questions for the community as a general learning opportunity. Our business is to run this town. We will, in the process, we're all learning together. I just want to be really clear about that. Thank you very much for that comment, Christina. All right.
Motion to approve.
All right, yes, we have a motion to approve this.
Third year.
This is and it's about the third year of the auditor's engagement letter, the professional outside auditors. So I will call the question and take the roll. Richard.
Aye.
Rusty.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Veranda.
Aye.
And Zon says aye. Thank you very much.
I guess we have to go to select board meetings now.
Whoops.
That whole contingent.
Marty, you're on. You need to.
Goodness.
Yeah, just put your mute on.
Okay.
Okay, now we'll move on to old business. We're going to talk about accepting, the potential of accepting an e-bike grant award. And I saw earlier that Chris Beebe was here, but
He's not.
he's not here now, so.
I got the information.
Okay, Sheila, will you write it down for us, please?
Dolores, I want to give you credit for making me and the select board ask the question, and then what? In terms of accepting awards and stuff like that, because that's something that I've gotten into the habit of doing. So the town was awarded, the Energy Committee applied for a grant from the Climate Catalyst Innovation Fund in Vermont to purchase 2 electric bicycles to be used from the Guilford Free Library by library card holders. The grant award is for $2,971. And so the questions are, if the town were to accept this award, then what? So we have one-time expenses and then ongoing expenses. So the one-time expenses include the purchase of the 2 bikes, visibility, vests and helmets, shelter and charging cord, and a bicycle repair kit. And the annual expenses are insurance premiums of $55 per year per bike, miscellaneous, and then annual electricity. And the annual costs going forward are about $228. And the excess revenue, in other words, grant over the first year's operating costs and all the costs associated with buying the bikes, we would have $257 in excess revenue in year 1, which would pay for the annual cost in year 2. And then so year 3, if these bikes still are in use in the town, that's when the town would start incurring insurance costs and liability insurance costs. And that's it, basically. So the Energy Committee, Nancy, would like the town to accept this, I'm thinking, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Did I capture everybody's?
I think you did very well, yes.
Okay. So,
And then we have to move
inside,
something.
yeah, get moved first. Tammy, we'll come right to you, and Jason, we'll come right to you as soon as we move something.
Okay.
Is there a motion to pertain to this?
I second.
Wait, what would you move?
Oh, I would move that we accept the grant.
All right, and Richard accepts it. All right, is there any discussion at the select board?
Well, I think it was very interesting to read the Vermont League of Cities and Towns advice to us about, the hold harmless sort of contract between a person who takes out this bike and the town. I think that's a significant reassurance for people who are wondering how this is going to work.
So there's real coverage available. Okay. Let's see. All right, Nancy.
Nancy Detra, Green River Road, and I am on the Energy Committee. I would like to say that part of our responsibility is to figure out how to conserve energy in this town. Both the town government and the town's people. We are interested in reducing the amount of energy that is spent on transportation. That's the biggest cost that we have for energy, and most of our energy comes from far away, right? We do burn wood, many of us, but that's local. But anyway, so we're trying to let people try these electric bikes, which can actually get you places, even in a hilly town like Guilford. We would like to offer them as a chance for people to see what an electric bike would be like for them, and maybe after using one, they might think, okay, well, that's something I would like to consider purchasing. And you know, it's a huge problem. We believe that climate change is a huge problem. We're trying to help people in this town think about ways that they could reduce their personal energy consumption.
Thank you. Nancy, all right, yes, Christine.
Is there some place the public can look up how long the batteries last and how they're disposed of when they're no longer working?
All of that will be available from the Energy Committee we haven't chosen the bikes, but when we have done that, Chris Beebe, who is our man with the e-bike project, will give that information out. And yeah.
Dolores.
I guess I don't get what the whole thing is. Like, you're gonna have bikes there and somebody's just gonna come up and borrow a bike and ride around town and then bring it back and then?
Yeah. 2 bikes, just 2 bikes. This is for adults, not for kids. So they're full-size bikes. And people with library cards, which anyone in Guilford can have, can come in and take out, just the way you take out a book, take out a bike and spend, I think we have talked about maybe a 3 or 4 hour stint to ride the roads of beautiful Guilford and see whether that's a bike that they would have any interest in having themselves. Or, you know, if they can't afford a bike like that, it might be just fun to go out and ride the roads of Guilford. Not, you know, it's not, I guess the Energy Committee is also interested in people just appreciating their town.
Let's see, Tammy Sargent.
Yeah, I actually have a couple of questions again. So the first one, on the insurance that we would purchase to have these bikes and have us not be legally, I'm just curious, what kind of coverage do we have to purchase for something like that? And then my last question is, with guessing how much it's going to cost us for, you know, future years, when the bikes get plugged in, is there a separate meters or a separate bill that we can look at the end of the year and say, this is how much money we spent on electricity to charge these 2 bikes?
I can answer.
All right, Sheila has answers for these, I think.
Okay. So so after we looked at the waivers that would be necessary through the town's insurer, the liability insurer advised us that the cost would be $55 per bike per year for liability insurance. And then there's a very detailed waiver of responsibility that has been approved by the insurer to protect against probably everything but the most egregious liability issues. Chris estimated that it would be about $18 a year for electric for charging the bikes, for charging 2 bikes, $18 a year for both bikes. So that's $128.50, and then the other 100 was miscellaneous costs.
So the insurance, I was just curious what the dollar amount, usually when you get insured up to a certain dollar amount.
Oh, you mean what's the liability coverage?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll get back to you about that, Tammy. Okay. Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Select Board members. I have a couple questions. Why don't we just do pedal bikes? One, if we're so worried about the environment, why are we using electricity and batteries? Why don't we just have pedal bikes? 2, are we talking to having these bikes on Guilford Center Road? Is that where we want this travel path? Because I mean, you can't go up Sweet Pond. You're not going to go up, Stage Road. It's all dirt or mud. And maybe these will go through mud. In about 2 weeks, we're going to be wondering. There's going to be parents of school children wondering how they're going to get their kids to school because of the mud season. And I need dollars. I mean, if the school buses can't get there, well, then the ambulance can't get there and the fire truck can't get there. So we're worried about these bikes. And I think any penny spent on these bikes is frivolous, and this town should not authorize this. And again, I'd like to know where these people are going to bike. I mean, are we expecting these people to, cruise up and down Guilford Center Road? I mean, there's no shoulder. And they can't, again, can the bikes go through mud, dirt? This is silly. We should not be accepting these grants. And just because these are grants, I mean, it's still taxpayer funds. It might not be coming directly from Guilford, but the state of Vermont doesn't make any money. It's all taxpayer funds. We're competing with other towns for these nonsense projects, and this is a waste of money, in my opinion.
Okay. Nancy.
I really feel as though the work that the Energy Committee is doing, and let's lay aside for a moment electric bikes, we have helped people save money in this town by having the window dressers program. And we got a grant for that this year, which will cost the town nothing, just simply to help people who need to have their windows tightened up in old houses or houses that didn't have very good windows to begin with, to have those windows nice and tight and without drafts. So that is simply a reduction in cost to consumers in this town to get something that may be of use to them. And they may not be able to afford to buy new windows. So I realize what we're talking about now is electric bikes, but our purpose is to help people reduce the energy they spend. And frankly, I wouldn't recommend that anybody use these electric bikes during mud season. I would recommend that you try not to use the roads.
Zon, may I move the question, please?
Yes, thank you, Richard. All right, so we'll take a vote on whether or not to accept this grant. Richard?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
And Zon says aye. Thank you, the motion passes. Let's move on then, folks, to new business. The first question under consideration this evening is the size of the Planning Commission. The Select Board will remember that we and the community will remember that the current size of the Planning Commission is 5 members. And in talking with the Planning Commission and the work that's coming ahead in the next while with various planning activities planned and connection activities planned for the community, that we would, the Select Board, who has the right to adjust the size of the Planning Commission, would adjust the size to 7. So I would move that we approve the adjustment of the Planning Commission size from 5 to 7.
I second that.
Thank you, Richard. Is there any discussion here at the board? All right, I see Jason Heron's hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Select Board members. Previously, we had a 9-member Planning Commission. They were dissolved 2 weeks before the plan was submitted, and the Select Board then appointed 5 new members. Now, this 5 new member committee is apparently not adequate enough to do this. When the Select Board removed those other 9 members, there were 3 local farmers on that committee. It would be my request that at least one of those new members is a farmer in this community. I think that would make a huge impact on some people's voices being heard that aren't being heard right now. So I would if they're going to appoint 2 more people, I think that at least one and possibly both of them should be of the farm background.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, I'll take the vote then. Shall the select board increase the size of the planning commission from 5 to 7? Richard?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Michael? Aye. Miranda?
Aye.
And Zan says aye. Thank you. So we'll take care of that. Now we move on to the Municipal Energy Audit opportunity.
If Nancy wants to talk about this, or I.
Oh, I see.
I really would prefer not to, if you have the facts
So we'll ask
Sheila
to speak to this.
Just trying to see if I have, okay. At the beginning of February, Wyndham Regional Commission announced that there is from Acts 172, a Municipal Energy Resilience Grant Program called MERP. And they asked for a primary point of contact who is somebody on the Energy Committee, and also me, I think, and maybe one other person. So this program is used to on buildings that the town owns, and the question is what building does of the buildings that the town owns, which might be eligible for a grant to do an assessment of what might happen, what might contribute to energy resiliency on one of the town buildings. And there's been this is just an information piece. So there's been some discussion that the town owns the town garage, the current one, the old one, the museum, the library, and the town office. And the town office is pretty new and should be pretty energy resilient. The town garage is always open. The museum would need an inordinate amount of work to become more energy resilient. And the question is, should the town at some point consider, if these grants actually become available, to study the feasibility of maybe solar panels on the library roof to reduce the electricity cost, the cost of heating at the library. Should the town consider that? So there would be a feasibility study first, and then an implementation study, all of which is because the state has money from the federal government for these programs.
I have a question.
Maybe I can answer it.
No, I just didn't know how time sensitive the grant opportunity was. I mean, I remember Sarah Coffey telling us that, there is funding available, but for different things that would benefit the town. But there was a window of opportunity, and I didn't know whether we were aware of that in relation to the Municipal Energy Audit.
It hasn't started yet. And They just announced that it may start. And so they're trying to get the towns organized to think about it.
Is this just informational, or do you need a motion?
Just information.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think the important piece of information that I'm taking from this is that it seems like this is an opportunity for us community members to engage in this planning in a process going forward that will likely perhaps come back to the select board in the form of potential grant applications down the road, and that we'll have community members involved. So about that. Dolores.
So this is to talk about that grant. So is that grant like a matching grant? Is it a flat out grant? Or is it
We're not there yet. We don't know yet what it is. They're just announcing it. The piece here tonight is that I think we're acknowledging some of our community members are going to step up and do the research for us about these grants and find out what might be possible for us and then report back. Is that?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
We are just finding out what they're offering.
So we're just applauding our community members that are willing to step up and do that work for us. So we don't know anything yet. As soon as we do, then yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. We'll move on to the appointment of a subcommittee to interview candidates. And I will start off by saying that, I'll move that we appoint a subcommittee to interview candidates for positions that we have here at the town. And is there a second for that?
A second.
Thank you, Michael. I do want to acknowledge that this is going to be, and we've done this in the past, this is a retroactive appointment. And the reason for the retroactivity here is that we, the nature of applications that came into us and the way we began the process just fell naturally into two board members actually doing the interviews. We had intended a slightly different process in line with open meeting law and everything, but it came down to the fact that the two of us could do the work and then report to the select board. So that's what this is about, is appointing Richard and me to follow through and finish with the work that we came into doing. It wasn't by design that we sought to do it. It's that's how it turned out.
So do you need a motion?
Yes.
I so move.
All right, thank you. All right, is there any discussion?
You already moved.
I
You
moved
need
it,
to
yeah.
Oh, I was seconding.
And Michael
it.
seconded it.
Okay, so.
I'm sorry, you're like, wait.
Is there any discussion?
Goodness.
Any in the community? All right, Connie.
Connie Burton, Weatherhead Hollow Road. So this is retroactive, so what positions were being filled?
We have positions that are announced in the community for the assistant town treasurer and for the town administrator. And those have been up for a while. We have been receiving applications for those, and we've begun the process of interviewing. So we just want to be able to finish that.
Are you gonna do a full-time town administrator, or are they sharing it with Sheila?
Oh no, we're going to full-time town administrator. That's our expectation.
I don't think we're going to be able to keep Sheila.
Not with that grandbaby.
Okay, is there any other question? All right, so take a vote on this. Richard?
Yep.
Rusty?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Zahn says aye. Thank you. Then there's a revised personnel policy on the agenda this evening. A hefty discussion here of that. I'm going to turn this over to Sheila. As I understand correct, we're not in a position of being able to, we're just going to, this is about informing the community
So,
and the select.
yeah.
Excuse me, Zahn, is there any chance of tabling this item to another one? We have an extraordinarily full agenda here.
It's okay with me, I still can do work on it.
Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
no tearing rush.
So we'll take that as a motion, Richard?
Yes, I motion that we table that item.
I'll second.
Michael will second. All right, we'll take a vote. Richard?
Aye.
All right, Rusty?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Zahn says aye.
Okay, wait, who moved? Richard moved.
Richard moved and
And-
Michael seconded. Michael seconded. And Jason, I see your hand.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you just give a brief explanation of what's being changed on the policy? You don't have to go into details, maybe just the section or the idea behind it. Just so we have an understanding as a public.
That item has been tabled.
Thank you, Mr. Wazansky. I was speaking to the chairman.
It has been tabled, and we'll talk about it in another meeting. There aren't any, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I understand, there aren't any major changes. It just needs updating.
Well, that's what I just want to know. What needs to be updated? Apparently, the select board's talked about this. You guys have all talked about a policy that we have no idea what you're planning on changing, possibly. So I would just like an idea of what's going on.
No, it's not like that at all, Jason. The issue is that we have an interim town manager who's taking it upon herself to look at all of our policies and bring them in line with current practices. And so this is coming directly from our town administrator for her work on this. It can be tabled into the next meeting. The select board has not.
A new town administrator. There's a new town administrator that's doing this, that's being appointed.
I think you misunderstood me. It's the interim.
Yeah, because you're not explaining this. Yes, what is actually going on? What is being changed or what is being looked at? That's all I'm asking for.
Then I'm not going to
The
answer
select board
that.
knows.
We don't know. We do not know at this point because
what are you talking about, Mr. Chairman? Apparently the select board knows what you're talking about, but I don't.
Jason,
I would like to know what you're talking about.
Will you sit quietly and let me speak then, please? Will you sit quietly and let me speak?
Are you asking me a question?
Yes.
I'm sitting here waiting for you to speak.
I didn't hear you say you would sit quietly.
Boy, you're acting like a tyrant. I will sit here quietly, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for explaining to me a part of the agenda.
As I said before, this work is coming from our interim town administrator.
Who is that?
Sheila Morse.
Okay.
Who has been working for the town for the last 6 months.
Yes.
Or more. So she has taken upon herself as a town administrator to look at a number of various issues in the town and update things and bring policies to the select board that need to be updated and revised. We are waiting to hear from her. She was going to report this evening. It can wait till another meeting. The select board does not know exactly what she's going to be talking about just yet. We've looked at documents, but we're not ready to share them publicly.
Right, so you guys have all talked about having Sheila do this.
No, we have not. It's
all right.
Don, the item has been tabled. Please, let's move on.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, it's time for the warrants.
Time for the warrants. All right, Miranda.
Okay, everybody take a deep breath. I move that we pay the following warrants. Week 1/29/23 for the sum of $6,151.84. Payroll week 2/5/23 for the sum of $6,523.32. Payroll week 2/12/23 for the sum of $6,455.84. Refund warrant 22 REF for the sum of $6,740.20. Expense warrant number 2215 for the sum of $80,202.24 for a total of $106,073.44.
I second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to go over some of these expenses. I'm sure people are interested. The largest single expense was $35,000, which was an allocation to the Guilford Volunteer Fire Department. Other large ticket items were a total of $9,959.36 for diesel and heating oil, $8,047.79 for salt, $5,189.39 for sand. We have a legal bill totaling $3,614.40. $210 of that was for regular predictable personnel advice, and $1,641.90 were to meet legal bills having to do with legal challenges to the select board.
Thank you. All right, are there any questions here at the select board? All right, I'll take the roll. Richard?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
And Zon says aye. Thank you. So,
May I just take a moment to point out that that those legal bills continue to come in for legal challenges to the select board, and the legal the financial legal responsibility the select board has is just elevating tremendously. I think we're 300% over budget at the present time, and the town of residents should know that.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to other business. And this is the business that we added at the beginning of the meeting, which is a report from the Select Board ARPA Subcommittee. And this is for us to review a policy recommendation for going forward with ARPA dollars, the remaining ARPA dollars after the ARPA Advisory Committee did their work with their very strong report. There are some dollars remaining. So I'll just read this very quickly, just so we're all on the same page. It's very brief. The subcommittee met on January 26th and makes the following recommendations about remaining ARPA dollars. The Select Board will accept written suggestions for projects to be considered for funding from town residents via letter or email to the chair. Letters should include the name or names of the recommenders, the suggested project, the need, and if possible, an approximate cost. The Select Board will consider the project and determine if further exploration is warranted, including an in-person invitation to present the project to the board. And the second point is 2 members of the Planning Commission should be added to the subcommittee. The subcommittee's charge should be to brainstorm ideas for potential ARPA-funded projects, including but not limited to review of the ARPA Community Survey and the town operating and capital improvement budgets, which may contain projects that meet ARPA funding criteria and will serve Guilford in the present and or future. Following the review, the subcommittee should report to the Select Board with recommendations for projects to be funded. And I will just add that I've, in preparation for this, I've spoken initially to Jennett Tokars, the chair of the Planning Commission, and she's comfortable with this idea of the Planning Commission adding 2 people to this subcommittee so we can have the nice bind going forward for the ARPA dollars. So thank you for that report, subcommittee. Is there any questions or comments here at the board? Anything in the community?
I have one question, and I think it's already been doled out, was the generator over at the school.
Yes.
Has that
I'm not
gone
sure.
through?
Sheila can answer that.
So the information about the award to the schools was sent to Jared and Dan Ingold, who's the new EMD, and they are getting quotes and understanding how it's going to fit in with the other emergency generators in town and service and stuff like that, and they have not reported back yet.
There's 2 things with that. A while ago, we as a town bought a generator for the church down in Christchurch, because that was going to be community church.
Yeah.
Christ, the community church. Because that was going to be our emergency place. Now, I don't know how many emergencies, we got one for the Grange, there's a generator there, right?
They got one.
They got one for the community center. And as a town, we no longer own the school building. Right? How, is that really like a good use of that money, is to be putting that into a building we don't own, when we've already put a generator into a building that was designated as an emergency shelter in town?
I can try and answer here, Sheila. Yeah.
So, I don't know if you remember a town meeting a few years ago when the power went out and we had the fire department bring bullhorns to at the school because there wasn't electricity there all day, and Toki Hilton bought up porta potties and we kind of managed. The school, it is the school's children. The school can serve as an emergency shelter for the town. It's been appointed one as an emergency shelter along with the church. And the Grange is not an emergency shelter. It is a point of distribution for the Vermont Department of Health if something happens there. And so we're just covering the bases.
Seems like a lot of bases to cover. I mean, how often is there really, I mean, BY is kind of disassembled. What was once supposed to be like, we're gonna have all these emergency shelters, and like, how often do we really, I mean, there's 50 some odd $1,000 that could actually go to some other food shelf or something else in town. Yeah, I know.
No,
You just mumbled.
no, I'm just wondered if Patty has an answer, because she was on the subcommittee.
No answer. I abstained from the school, if you remember, because the upkeep, ARPA does not provide upkeep. They'll buy the house, you have to do the rest. Your responsibility is done. So I abstained from that because we did not own the school. And there should be a stipulation with that generator stating specifically that the WSESU will be responsible and liable for all of the upkeep on the generator, and that is quite a large amount of money. And I voted no on the Grange because I felt that they'd already got a lot of federal funds. And I thought, like Doris, I thought it was superfluous to have 2 big generators within an area of less than a mile.
Okay, thank you. Make notes of all this. Okay. Thank you, folks. Let's move on. We need to take a vote, don't we? Yeah. So,
What's the vote?
Do we
There's no
already move it?
motion, you just reported.
Okay, thank you. Good.
Well, I don't know, 2 members of the planning commission should be added to the subcommittee. Do you need to take a vote on that?
I think we need to move to accept this recommendation.
Okay.
All right. So I move that we accept this recommendation.
I will second it.
Thank you, Brenda. Take a vote. Richard.
Aye.
Rusty.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
And Miranda.
Aye.
Zon says aye. Thank you very much. All right. So now we move to the section of the meeting with communications, and we have a number this time. Richard, are you prepared to speak to these communications?
Yes, I'm just going to summarize them. They're available for review. We received a
Richard, sorry, I will jump in and ask you to specifically read the one from Connie Burton.
Why don't you do that? I don't have that at hand.
Okay.
I've read it.
All right, yeah, I'm sure you have. Thank you.
And I can
I've got it right here.
The
Thank
legal
you.
fees if you want me to go there.
All right, go ahead, Richard. Start with Monaghan, Safar, whatever.
Oh, yes, we received a letter from our legal representation, which was informing us that their rates are going up. Their rate for special legal counsel is going up, but not for their ongoing legal counsel.
Can I just?
Yeah, do you want to?
I wanted to note that in fact their rates are, the average rate is going to be the same because they're reducing the rate of the person that normally deals with our account by $25 and increasing the rate of the person that advises at a higher level by $25. So we might actually end up having slightly lower fees as a result of this adjustment of their rates.
And we received a letter of inquiry about the dog officer and constable positions. And we received a complaint from a Guilford resident about a home on Taylor Lane. And we received some communications about what is necessary to under state law for a tiny house, and mostly with concerning the wastewater, how the wastewater should be handled in a tiny house.
We're addressing that. Okay, then I'll read Connie's letter, and then you can speak to the letter from the Algiers Village, Friends of Algiers. So a letter from Connie Burton says, and I'm reading it aloud because Connie requested that I read the letter aloud. and it's brief enough that I feel like we can do that tonight. I'd like to have an opportunity to discuss with the select board your decision not to allow the residents of Guilford to vote on an article to direct the Guilford elected town auditors to solicit bids and engage and assist with the performance of an external audit of all Guilford town monies and funds at the time of the changing of the guard of the position of treasurer. This petition was signed by more than 100 Guilford residents. I believe this petition's request is valid and the select board should honor it. I would like the opportunity for further discussion as my Zahn's quote in the Reformer has suggested. I invite the initiators of this petition to consider speaking with the select board. He said we would welcome a conversation so that people can understand more about what the audit is and what questions might need to be looked at with regard to the auditing process. Thank you for making space for this discussion at an appropriate place in the agenda of your upcoming meeting on Monday, February the 13th, which is today. I talked with Connie and told her that we would not be including it on the agenda tonight as a discussion topic because as I asked questions of Connie, I discovered that there's a fair amount of background information that we need to exchange with one another before it would become a topic for us to discuss tonight. So Connie and I will be doing that. It will come up for another discussion. But I should say, just so it's clear, I don't think Connie understood, and I'm not sure other folks in the community, the moment that we could accept and approve that this petition has gone by. It could no longer be part of the, even if we acted on it tonight, there was no way that it could be part of the town meeting this March. So it's a discussion that we'll have to make for another moment, which we can do. Very willing to have that conversation another moment. So Richard, will you, do you have a note from Ann Ryder from the village?
I'm sorry, I don't have that. That's also, I don't have that at hand. That was from the last select board meeting, I believe.
Oh, I think we have a new one here. I'll pull it up real quick. Here it is. It's also very brief, so I will read it. Having watched the last September meeting, the last select board meeting, it seemed that tonight's meeting would not be the time for me to submit an application for ARPA funding from the Friends Vouchers Village. I understand that the board needs to revisit its process for reviewing grant applications, and I look forward to submitting a proposal as soon as it is convenient for the board. Please let me know when that might be. So we will be in touch with Ann about that. Okay, folks, now the next thing that happens this evening is that we're going to go, we need to go into executive session for a little while. So what will normally happen is we would go into executive session, have our discussion, and we would then come out of executive session, and everyone here in the room and online is welcome to stay at the end to hear if there's any actions that come out of the executive session. So, but at this moment, we need to ask folks that are in the room to leave the room. You can wait outside, or we can shut the door and you can wait in another part of the building. And we will put everyone who's online in the waiting room so that the select board can move forward. All right, I see Ann's hand. The technical question, Ann?
Yeah, point of order, I assume you're going to state the reason for your executive session.
Oh, yes, I think it's on the agenda. We will do that in just a second. I'm just talking about what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and move. I will move that we enter into executive session to discuss personnel issues per 1 V.S.A. section 313A3 to discuss the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, and to invite the interim town administrator Sheila Morris to the discussion. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, although, let's see, Richard,
Aye.
Rusty, Michael, Brenda,
Aye.
Zahn says aye. Thank you. We are now in executive session. So, hello everyone. It's now 8:38. I will move that we exit executive session to be and take two votes. So
Wait. Zahn moved.
I moved to, can I have a second to
Yes.
exit? Thank you, Veranda. All right, we'll take the vote to leave executive session. Richard?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
And Zahn says aye. Okay, we are out of executive session still as of 8:38. So folks, everyone on the call, we had a meeting in executive session. We talked about two positions that the town currently has open for employment, and I will move that we extend an offer to the preferred candidate for the assistant town treasurer position with the subcommittee to negotiate employment contracts.
Contract, sorry.
Yeah, contract.
Sorry.
All right, a contract. Yeah, I'm reading here. So.
Second.
Thank you, Richard. All right, is there any discussion here at the select board? All right, Richard?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Zahn says aye. Thank you, that motion passes. And then the second motion is that I will move to extend an offer to the preferred candidate for the town administrator position with the subcommittee to negotiate employment contract.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion here at the select board? I see Jason Herron's hand. Jason?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought the town treasurer had to do the actual appointing. So did Penny is Penny appointing the assistant town treasurer, or is the select board now appointing the assistant town treasurer?
At this moment, the select board is appointing the town treasurer.
That's
The assistant.
That's not appropriate.
No, excuse me.
I know, but I mean, Penny has the authority to appoint the town treasurer. The select board does not have that authority. If Penny wants to appoint an assistant, then she can do that. The select board has no authority. That you're in different lanes.
Okay, thank you. We'll check into it and see how we do with that. Thanks a lot, Jason. Okay, so town administrator position. All right, we'll take a vote on the extending the contract to the preferred candidate for town administrator. Richard.
Aye.
Rusty.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Veranda.
Aye.
Zahn says aye. Okay. All right, folks. Thank you. Now, I'm sorry you have to sit for a few more minutes. From the previous meeting, I'm going to summarize the actions that were taken. Connie Burton and Lyle Howe were appointed to the Board of Civil Authority. The board approved BCTV contracts. We approved a Class 2 liquor license for Warwick and West, doing business at the Guilford Country Store. We approved budgets for presentation to voters at the town meeting. We approved a procurement and meeting procedure, procurement and separately meeting procedure policies. And we made a decision to reject a petition to include an article on the Australian ballot per advice from VLCT. Actions taken tonight: we approved 2 sets of minutes. We approved the enrollment into the Sourcewell opportunity. We approved the auditor engagement letter. We accepted a grant for 2 e-bikes here in town. The select board voted to change the planning commission size from 5 to 7. The select board listened, no action there. We appointed a subcommittee to interview candidates for the 2 town positions that are open. We tabled a revised personnel policy discussion. We approved warrants. We accepted the report of the select board, the select board's subcommittee for the ARPA expenditures. And we just now approved the extension of a contract for the assistant town treasurer, and we approved the extension of a contract, or to extend a contract to the preferred candidate for town administrator.
And we can check with Penny about
Yes.
the treasurer, the assistant treasurer.
I've read that before and seen that, the town treasurer,
Assistant.
the treasurer has the authority to appoint an assistant. So we'll have to look into that and see what we're doing. All right, let's see. I think that we are perhaps at the end of all the business that we had to take
I
care
move
of.
to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Richard. Is there a second? Veranda seconds. Is there any discussion? I see that Austin already has his hat on. He's ready to go outside. Richard?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Zahn says aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. We shall see you at the next regular meeting of the Guilford Select Board.
Thank you.